Scale Podcast, episode 7.
7.
Let's get it. You must get like you have gunshots there, bro. After I say let's get it, must get it. Anyway.
I got animals.
Come on, bro.
sorry. Yeah.
You're so happy with yourself, man.
I am so happy, man. Oh man.
Alright, let's get it, man. Cool. Topic of the day: songwriting in the game. Songwriting in South Africa, songwriting in the music industry. Started off, initial thoughts.
Yeah, man. Our industry, man. Like I know a lot of songwriters, and our songwriting industry is not as developed as the rest of it. You know, with the artists, the production stuff. I feel they don't get together. They're even more quieter than we are. They kind of like get along an artist and they do their thing, but I don't think that they have the same kind of, galvanization that we do. So I think that's why they're suffering a hell of a lot.
What does galvanization mean? Because like the fourth time you use that word.
Is it? I think I made it up. But essentially what it means is just to bring them together. To galvanize, man, is to bring things together. To bring things together so that they can move. Anyway, yeah. So essentially they don't have that togetherness that we've been forced to have as music producers, as engineers. So they're working in silos all over the place.
I think after I asked the question like to a couple of my friends, someone came out and was like, sometimes it could be like artist ego things where they think, I'm not a real artist if I don't have a writer, you know what I mean? Like they want to feel like they're like entirely part of the process. And I don't remember who it was, but someone teacher was like, yo man, just you and your engineer can't go against big artists. We have like 5-10 writers and multiple like producers as well. So it's like there's so much contrast and like so many other sides of the music that you can get when you have someone, or a couple of people also like having some input in what you're actually gonna end up recording and stuff like that. Because now a lot of the songs you find that the production is great, the mixing is great, the mastering is great, but just the content of the song, man, it's just lacking. So it's like, how can we fix it?
Well, don't those particular artists, I mean, let me start with how many artists do you know that have a dedicated songwriter in our country?
Nah.
It's not a thing.
Nah, bro. Yeah, it's really not, eh?
Not a thing.
It's
and
really
we're talking right across the board here, because with the whole thing of having a rapper who has a songwriter, then you're seen as someone who you don't. Again, it's an ego thing. But I'm talking about across all genres. There's not a lot. Most people want to write their own stuff. So I think the problem begins there. People don't want to accept that. Look, you might have the package, you might have everything, but you suck at songs. You suck at or it's the other way around. Like there's a couple of guys I know
where you're really great, but you don't have the package.
Exactly, where you're good at writing the songs, but then those people, I know one of them he's now stepped a little bit back. All he's doing, he'll release like an album a year or every 2 years. But he focuses on hitting people up and saying, okay, cool, I heard that song. Let me see if I can write something for you. He'll then go into studio, record it, send it through to them and say, this is what I think would be great for you. That's how he sells himself. And then from there, he creates a songwriting relationship. And now he has multiple people who he now writes songs for.
That's a nice thing there. Because like you were saying, I remember in the last episode, you were saying, must carve a niche, you know what I mean? And he's like successfully found a way to like eat off the talent. I think also how about my point now? Wait, it's coming. Oh yes. I know JR and Younger have been open, about writing some of the big guys' songs like AKAs and whatever. So I think if we can get to a point where people aren't so scared of having songwriters, bro. There's nothing wrong with having a songwriter. Like there's nothing wrong there. Like I think once we prioritize the music and stop with the whole ego thing, our music will sound much better, because production wise, I think we are at international level, if not even better.
Yeah.
Because our producers are coming with fire, bro. Like, yo, some of the music that's coming out now is like, yo, this is really quality music.
But why do you think the songwriters haven't? I mean, I gave my reason at the beginning, where I feel like they're just not, they're not moving as a unit, I don't feel. Whenever they offer deals, again, it's in silos. If there's an artist who needs something, or say there's a lady that I know that was a songwriter. She had was it at Universal? She had a contract there as a songwriter. And I was like, okay, so what does this entail? What's going on? Like, no, from time to time, they'll bring us in as writers. We'll do a little bit of work and then off we go. But besides that, I don't know, is there a songwriting union? Is there, do people get together in that way?
It's one of the question marks in the game here. I think it's one of those parts of the industry where people are not even like aware that there are people whose job is genuinely just to write the song. You know what I mean? It's just to actually just get the pen down and leave, So I think also, like you're saying, they're not galvanized. The Scale Podcast word of the day: galvanized. Give me some pops there. Beep 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 beep. So yeah, bro, they're not together, bro. I think it's also very lucrative to work alone, but at the same time, that's bad for their collective industry, like the collective movement of songwriters. But as people, we just want to make the bag deep. What's left is just what's left. So I think they need to create a platform for themselves as well. I mean, if we can have an in the lab or something like that for songwriters, that'll be dope, because now they're sharing techniques, like when you get to the chorus, try this, try that, use this rhyme scheme, you know what I mean? So it's like, if they also just try and contextualize almost the industry and like make it known and like have awareness around the fact that it's not a crime to have a songwriter.
Exactly.
It's really not.
We're not going to see you as, we're not going to belittle you or see you as less of an artist. There's many facets. But I think we are slowly, like as music producers, and even sometimes just when you're tracking, you become the songwriter. How many times have you been in a session where an artist is struggling with a line? They're struggling with a line and it's not coming out. Okay, but then maybe just remove that one word, or just say it like this, or maybe just whatever. Then essentially now we're taking a bag away from someone else, or we're taking an opportunity for it to have been done properly, because that's not our forte. Some of us might be rappers and producers, but when we're sitting in that session, we're there in the capacity of that thing, as opposed to being songwriters.
Yeah.
So that could be another.
But now we can't not contribute to sessions just because there's the session that the songwriter didn't come or doesn't exist. You know what I mean?
No, we must.
So you can't now. Yeah, you know what I mean. So now you can't say, I'm gonna let this guy record rubbish as long as he gives me my recording money, my mix money, my mastering money, can be out. That's also another thing. I feel like if we're gonna work on music, that's where the actual producing, in terms of the true sense of the word, comes in. You're gonna have to direct the song here and there. Now take this out, say it like this, add this and stuff like that. So I think in that capacity, that's where we are. I think that's where everyone is. And if you don't have a good producer, you're child.
You're
really child, bro. Because that's the person, like that's the first person of contact with your idea or like with whatever you've scripted. And if they let it slide, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a rap. Yeah. And like also people having songwriters is like, if anything, it's the exact opposite of what they think it's going to do for them. Because I mean, if your music is sounding much better, you're naturally going to progress. I mean, your music is sounding much better. More people are relating to it, more engagement, possibly more sales, more bookings. So it's like, it's that little key that everyone is like afraid to use, you know. I don't know if they feel like it's cheating the game or what. Because I mean, you have people buying followers, those people are cheating the game, but you genuinely getting help is something we should be more open to.
It's supplementation. It's like producers using loops.
Don't get me started on that, bruh.
Sorry, Doug.
I am against loops. Like, okay, let's just go into it 2 seconds.
Okay.
I hate loops, bro. I hate loops. Like, oh my God. I don't know. I'm a purist, bro.
Talk to me about it.
Purist.
Talk to me about it.
Loops.
What about it? And what about it irks you? What about it makes you annoyed?
Why do you make music?
Why do you make music?
Why do you make music? They're like, why do you make music? Like, I'm more comfortable with session musicians because with a session musician, you can be like, yo, this is my song. I need it to sound like this. Can you play this, and that? Or what do you think is going to sound good? We collab and then it comes out. But for me to be sitting somewhere in Norway and be having a horrible day and make a trap melody and put it on the internet, then use Silas beats because you don't want to put it in the work. You don't want to get on the ground. You don't want to get it in and learn. You understand? And work to get the sound. Just going to go on the, what's this thing? Splice. You're going to go and splice, take a loop, drag it into your session. Come on, man.
Okay, so now I've got a few questions based on what you just said.
Loops,
now.
Bro. Not loops. Okay.
My first question is based around. It's where we're gonna take it first because both are rabbit holes. Let's go to. Okay, let's start with the smaller rabbit hole. Loops. If I have a loop, I'm just throwing a stone now. If I have a loop, I've got from Splice. I've brought it into my session.
Yeah. I
now time stretch that thing. I chop out portions of the loop. Wait. Wait, I chop out sections of this loop. I reverse portions. I do things. It might be recognized small. You might, if you know your splice, you might be able to
if you know your splice, you might.
Yes, you might be able to recognize it. But for the most part, it's changed. We've taken it and we've used that and we've changed. How do you feel about that? That degree of it's no longer just takes copy paste slap go.
There's an element of creativity there and there's an element of producing. I cannot fault you for that. That's basically sampling.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's basically sampling.
Which brings me to my next question. Great. Amazing.
Okay, let's hear it.
The principle of sampling, you and I both know, the principle of sampling is taking something that has been created and either taking it as it is or doing the whole interpolation thing where you take portions and you replay them, right? What is your stance on that? Because in that world,
I love sampling.
I
love sampling.
Okay.
I love sampling. Sampling is I love sampling.
Okay.
But now, loops and sampling are not the same thing.
Okay, now this is exactly, you've gone straight. Yeah, good. Now I want you to do the thing.
Loops and sampling are not the same thing. Okay. Because when I take a sample, I'm very passionate about this one. Let me when I take a sample now, it's me saying, there's been a previous composition, not a previous idea, not a previous chord progression. There's a previous fully done recorded composition that I really like to interpret into my own I like version and idea, right? Loops is me saying yes, that's loops. Loops is me saying, Silas, that chord progression is dope. I'm really lazy to make one right now. So I'm going to take that chord progression and right click on FL and say, fill each 2 steps and put in 3 kicks and a bass and say, I'm beat. Come on, bruh.
Okay.
No.
So
no.
So now you said a very key word there. You said a very key word there. Laziness.
Yeah. Laziness, bro.
I've seen producers. This is more so in the States, actually in Europe as well, where they say don't think of it as laziness, because two things happen when loops are made. The first thing is some people, some loop makers, they call themselves loop. This is them now. They just make loops. They see it as an easy way to collaborate on a mass scale. That's the first thing that they see. They say that if there's any major placements, I mean, you can even think of someone who has had Grammy nominated stuff, but they're not fully known, like an Illmind. They're not like widely known. Illmind
is too much. Sure.
You see, now he has his loop kits that he puts in sample kits, but now he says if it's a minor placement, it's just a small whatever release. Sharp, you do what you want to with it. But should it be a major placement? And he defines major placement. He's talking like Ludacris for some reason jumps on the track, or someone else comes and they jump on the track. Now it's a major track. Now it becomes, and that's how the J. Cole track, what's it called? Love Yours.
Yeah.
He did the piano. That was it. It was his piano loop that then went over. Love Yours was created. He now has a J. Cole placement. He now has plaques based on that loop that he created. So that's the first point, that now it's collaboration, right? And I've completely forgotten my second point. But yeah, comment on the first one.
Let me jump in here. I want to jump in right after that. We could argue that loop makers are the songwriters for producers.
Okay. Yeah.
Could argue, because I mean, when the scale is punishing you nicely there, you can just be like, hey, bruh, just release something, there, a loop. But hey, for me, I'm a purist, bro. Like I said, I want to be inside from track one. You understand? Yeah. Plugin number one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think loops, dog. No.
I remember my second point. Loops, I remember now. Okay. And then the second point on loops is for someone who needs to create music at scale. So for someone who is creating music, if I'm focused on an artist, we're sitting and we're creating, that artist and I. We're working back and forth, and we're using, we're creating beats and stuff on the spot. It's all fresh, as you're mentioning, from plugin one. We build it from the ground up. I mean, I know some artists who they don't take beats from people. They want to be sitting there so they can give direction while the beat is being made, right? Now, for someone who's working on library music, or their game is jingles, or their game is, they're in that space there where quality needs to be high, but quantity needs to be mad high as well. So when you have loops and you're able to then pull loops in and then do the chopping and the moving, not necessarily just a case of dumping and going, but that whole creation process, it allows them to increase the output.
Where you need to have a lot, productivity.
Exactly. And what it is, I've said a lot of nice things about loops. I'll use them in the way that I've mentioned from time to time, but it's for scale. It's for when I need gang music for a very short period of time. But otherwise, I jump in and I'll go in and then I'll sort everything else. But
compose,
yeah. So the one bad thing I would say about loops is that it's turning us into a commodity as music producers. I was thinking about it over this past weekend now. My work is becoming a little bit more difficult in a sense, in that there was a track, I heard someone who made a beat for an artist that I work with. And I heard a loop within the beat. And I was like, hey man, but I know that loop. And then I was like,
I know that loop.
Crap, I've got that loop. I have that loop. And I used it. I just chopped it up more. So I put in the work, right? I put in the work of maybe however many minutes to hours to chop the loop up, to do whatever.
To chop it up.
This guy brought it in. He dumped it there.
He clicked on Village 2 steps, put in 2 kicks, put into. You see what I mean? And he got the placement. Now a bro who just downloaded. You see what I mean? Now a bro who just downloaded FL Studio last week. can now say, yeah, I'm a fire up, nigga.
Exactly.
Because now you can download loops for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, continue, finish. So I can destroy you there with your loop.
No. The point I'm making is exactly the same point that you're making, in that it's commoditizing us, because I have a friend who's learning how to make beats right now. He started maybe 2 months ago, but his if you listen to his finished products, not as a producer, if you listen to his finished products, his finished products sound like me after maybe 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Exactly.
But I know for a fact that if I sit the guy down and I'm like, okay, now I'm not giving you your loops and I want you to
software, let's go,
I want you to make something, something that's going to, and it's uniquely you. He's not gonna. He's got no music theory. He's got, all he knows is what comes together. Maybe
sounds good, like that natural.
Exactly. So now it's commoditizing us, and it's making our job a little bit harder, because the barrier to entry was already very low. Now your barrier to entry is even lower, because all you need to do is like EJ.
Doesn't exist,
EJ.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Yeah.
So it makes
because now
hard.
there are loops, ne? There are loops. Then there are MIDI kits, ne? Then there are MIDI kits as well. So you drag in a chord, you drag in a melody, you drag in a hi-hat pattern. Come on, dog.
And there's your beat.
What's the point? You understand? Really, like, where's your creativity in the whole thing? Because now you're just a dope compiler. Like, you're really good at compiling sounds. You know what I mean? Another thing I want to talk about, I even wrote it down. Quincy Jones. Yeah? Here's how I would say you're too much if you're using loops. Quincy Jones would get people to come in, right, and say, play 30 minutes, just play. Go from sad to happy to, you understand, get a guitarist to do that, get a pianist to do that, get a drummer, you know what I mean, get them to all do that. And then he will now go and select, okay, this happy 4-bar here would make a dope song. He starts and he pastes it there. Then, okay, I need a bridge. Then within all that playing, you take them, okay, this will make a good bridge for here. That is actual composition from session musicians. Well done. Yeah. Because now you can direct them as they play. You know what I mean? But with loops, loops piss me off.
Don't worry, finish your point, bro. Finish your point.
Bro, loops piss me, like, genuinely.
No, dude, they annoy me too, because they kill my business. They're killing what I'm doing. They're killing what you're doing. But exactly. The end user is not going to say, "Hi, man," but that sounds like a loop. This is the thing that annoys me, and it turns us into, much like how things are being commoditized. Look at graphic design. Graphic design, they commoditize now. You download 3 apps on your phone and you can create dope artwork.
Anything, yeah.
Whole careers are being thrown out the window just because of 3 or 4 apps. Loops are doing the same thing to us. And the worst part is, we're not really seeing it. We're actually embracing it. People are becoming loop makers. People are doing this. People are doing that. Where do we get off saying, this is not dope music? If it was a loop, that very same loop that was copy-pasted, whatever was added, all of a sudden it's on the radio now. That producer's hot now. People are like, this one here, they're the one. So where does that put us? I put myself in the same boat, because when I started making beats, I didn't have, when I had EJ was based on loops. But then from EJ, I moved to Reason. This was in 2008. So from 2008 up to this point, I've just been trying to create. I've been messing with MIDI, trying to get my music theory up so that I understand how to make things move.
What's good?
Where does that leave us?
In the dark, bro. We left to dry here. We really left to dry, because as people, another thing that's rewarding about making music is that when you finally understand a concept, or when you finally crack it, you're like, yes. You know what I mean? Like, all that time and all those hours that you put in. Do you remember the first time you opened FL Studio and you saw track 1 there on the playlist? And you're like, what the hell is going on here? Then you open the step sequence and you're like, like, what is going on? And then fast forward to where now you're moving automations, everything is everywhere. Now you're routing, it's like, wow, I've really grown. You know what I mean? Just that feeling of growing within the craft. You know what I mean? And like, for people who use loops, it's like, bruh, Not loops.
Breathe, though.
I think that's my final point.
Breathe.
Not loops. Like
yeah.
Like
But
just session musician at least, yeah.
No, I get you. And at least if you're going to, on my side, I'd say if you're going to, for people who use loops and then for people who don't use loops, for people who use loops, if you're going to be using loops, don't let the thing sound the same as how you got it, please.
Yeah, exactly. Don't just drag it. You see there, yeah.
Now, for people who don't use loops, just be aware that you don't become the DVD store, that you don't become the graphic designer, that you don't become the physical library, that you get overshadowed by something. Amazon comes through and they chow your business. Netflix comes through and they chow your business. Don't become that person. Because if you sit there as a pure, it's going to be the same as how, look at engineers now who own these big studios. They're crying because your biggest,
because
your
people just need a Focusrite and a small mic at home.
So they were left behind. I don't want to ever be that guy because I look at them now on YouTube and they're like, FL Studio, that's not mixing. What's that? These guys, they call that mastering? Come on, man. I don't want to become that guy. And I slowly see
that bitter old guy.
Exactly. So there has to be, I don't know, man, there has to be a little bit of a balance somewhere.
I like that point that you brought up. I feel like be aware of what's going on, man. Be aware of what's going on in the game, but also don't sell just because the game is moving in the direction that it is. You know, because there's a difference between adapting and selling out. Because you could say, that's a lot of water, bro. Okay, sorry. You could say you're adapting and they're selling out. There's a thin line, bro. There's a very thin line between those two, you know. Being aware of what's going on in the game is great. Having a big studio and seeing people move towards the more mobile thing, I would much rather make my studio more compatible, you know, have aux, because most producers pull up with a laptop, bro. I want to pull up with a laptop, plug it in, and like in these huge studios, it takes forever to get one aux working because now they must find the analog and then patch this, and so it's like just make your stuff more available to the times, you know what I mean? Because if these kids are punishing you with the loops, you come through with the music, bro. Have quality music, punish them with the marketing, you know what I mean? Like, be at a point where you are also enabling yourself to fight in the same space, you know? Don't just be like, loops, what. Why should we come to you over the broad with the loops, you know what I mean? And I mean, now there's career opportunities or spaces that are opening up in the game for people. Like, there's a guy I know called Season 98. When he did the beat review, he was one of them. He calls himself a melody smith. That's what he does. He makes melodies. That's it. So for Zuchi's projects, for Diamonds and them, for Flame, and he makes melodies. Like, he can make beats too, but he specializes in making melodies.
So he becomes that's his thing in a collaboration. He's the melody guy. That's his
thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's the melody guy. You understand? So if you see, I'm more comfortable with that. Silence, you and I get into the studio and you're like, yo, bro, Dinga, I'm really stronger on the melodies. I'm like, all right, do you think? Punish the melody, come through, punish the drums, the bass. It's a song. You understand? Whereas if I'm just randomly scrolling.
And Splice is big. Oh man. Let me ask you your question. The question you asked just now. Why should I'm a rapper now? Why should I come to you? What's your pitch? Why should I come to you over Mr. Melody, over Mr. Splice over there?
Mr. Splice.
Mr. Loopmeister.
As much as you can get fire loops and whatever, you can't beat authentic feeling. You can never beat feeling. And there's a clear difference between songs that have feelings and songs that are put together with loops. Songs that are put together with loops are pleasing to the ear. Songs that were genuinely made feel good. There's a difference there. You know what I mean? There's a really big difference. There's music, like you're saying, with that guy who has the loop. Because, not just because you knew there was a loop, but if you play your beat and you play his beat, there's a difference. You know what I mean? What you did will feel more natural, will be more more of you understand? Whereas with the loop, which is like, yo, this guy's too much with the E sharp major scale, with the R&B. Come on. Come on, bro.
And then,
Come
you
on,
know,
bro.
it becomes tough for me when we talk about, because I agree with you, because I would say the exact same thing. There's a certain something that you're going to get when someone has played something else.
Yeah.
Also, through the errors, this is where the human element comes in. Through the errors and through you stumble upon something. You ever hit a key and you're like, I hit the wrong key, but then when you hear it, you're like, that was
it
a
sounds
fire.
Yeah.
So those moments don't happen because you're scrolling with your mouse and you're hitting the down key.
Exactly.
So there's certain moments of that serendipity that just never happen. But that feeling, the problem is, how does one quantify feeling? Because I can quantify 60 beats. I can say, I'll give you 60 beats over Dingo, who'll give you 10 beats. They'll feel better.
Beats that feel good, but I got 60.
But I got 60. So what is it above the feeling? Or can you quantify feeling?
Yes, you can. I would much rather walk into a studio with 10 powerful beats than 60 or right ones. Me. That's just me. You understand? I would much rather walk into a session with 10 beats that I know you're not going to skip one. Whereas with you, we're going to go, first 5, there's only 3. Then the next 10, there's only 2. Then the next 10, there's only 1. Then the next 10. So by the time we get to 50 beats, bruh, you've only made 10 placements or 15 placements or 20 if we're stretching it. But even those
20 is not bad.
It's not bad. True, it's not bad. But it comes down to episode 2. Are you in it for the rack or are you in it for the music? You understand?
Yeah.
You understand? Because that'll always be the final question. There are always quicker ways, smarter ways, more robotic ways to make music, and any other industry alike.
Yeah.
But if you're coming in knowing that, I'm coming in for the sack, or I'm coming in for the love of the game, then you can be able to move. And like what you said is really dope, because we've been growing so much with the use of technology and computers and whatever. Right now, I feel like the human feeling or the human element or just that natural touch, very powerful right now. That's why a lot of people are moving towards having, even if it's a computerized beat, a lead guitar at least, or like, something just to give it that feel again. Because when you're on software, it's very, on the bar. And if you ever went to a live show, they're not going to play on the grid for 3 hours straight.
Never.
It's never going to sound like that. Like, cool, you can play with the swing a bit, but nothing beats live, bro.
Yeah.
Nothing beats that, you understand, that genuine raw sound.
And you'd throw like an MPC or like a MIDI controller or something like that. It would count, as like without the quantization.
Without the quantization, obviously now after you've played, you might have hit one note a bit too late or a bit too early. Obviously you'll move those around just so it sounds pleasant. But even with that, it'll still feel right because loops are coming in so that when you time stretch them, they sit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
so I can't give you a loop that's slightly off or a couple seconds late. Or now you must go and sit and readjust. No, I'm going to give you a loop that hits from bar 1 to bar 4.
There are certain loops that are slightly, you can hear that all of the musicianship was done on that side. So it wasn't just like clang, clang, clang. They just had it was a case of there were musicians on that side that got together. They brought in
and recorded,
vocalists. They recorded and they mangled and they did all the work on their side. By the time it gets to you, it's got musicianship in it. It's got a little bit of that.
It feels good already.
Yeah, it feels good. So there, we also need to be a bit careful because then even there, an FL Studio can plot out where the grid would be and still be able to time
and then
stretch
automatically,
that. But I get what you're saying, and I believe in that so much that when I remember when I got my first MIDI, it was an amazing experience. Being able to realize that you doesn't have to be bah.
Yeah.
You can just, you can have things slightly off.
And then have that offbeat nyana. You see what I mean? Have that offbeat a little bit. And once you get a loop, you can't play with it like that unless they give you separates. But even then, the separates are still wave. You understand? Some people sell MIDI kits these days. So it's like like you're saying, the game is the digital game is always finding a way to, like, almost replicate and almost feel like you were
Authentic,
there, authentic, you know what I mean? But hey, bro, you can never beat a session where everyone is there, you understand, and you all contribute to that, because even the energy in the room is very important. You know what I mean? There could have been a premium studio there, hitting the right herbs there. Everything was beautiful. You are sitting at home here in Africa with your small computer studios. You won't get the same feeling, bro. Like, you won't get the same, because they might have heard it be like an R&B thing or like with the slower drum. And then you, because Silas is a trapper and he's like, yo, bro, I'm trying to get a little bit of chords. You take that and you say 808s, distortion, snares. You understand?
To create the vibe.
Everywhere now.
So now my question then is, the vibes that are then created, I hate that word. The vibes that are created off of these loops, are these false vibes? Are they genuine?
It's vibes that sell. It's vibes that are quantified. Because I mean, even they can see on their side from the algorithm that, yo, man, these kids are really feeling the more softer stuff, or the harder stuff, or the up-tempo loops, or the slower loops, you know what I mean? So they're going to make what you need, because they need to retain your subscription. You understand? So they're just going to make what you want them to make and what's selling. And also another thing that they're really smart with, I found this really genius. They actually went to producers and asked the actual producers to make loops. Like you're saying, Illmind, who's an example. Southside has a splice kit. So if you ever want to make hi-hats like Southside, just go download this kit and then put it in there. Yeah. So it's like, it's a very shortcut based like operation, It's a very, you don't have to learn all of that. Just come here, we got you, So if you are one of those people that are digging the shortcuts,
dope to you.
Yeah, shout out to you, man. Kudos.
I won't lie. Like, if I look back to the guys I looked up to, there's certain questions that I asked back then that I'm still asking now. Like Timberland, like an Aaliyah, like those tracks that he did with Aaliyah. The way those songs came together, the width of a kick, how all of that was able to be done. People have tried to do I remade whatever it is, but it was never. It never felt the same. These days, people are remaking things accurately. The kids these days, for the producers these days,
it's grown, bro. Yeah, it's grown, bro. It's like I'm saying, we have a lot of advancements now. I mean, you can even get to a point where someone could even make a program where you load the song in and then it identifies all the samples in there, because everything is almost samples, and then gives you a list of them. That is very much possible, because now with Autotune they did like a breakaway plugin called Auto Key. Now you don't even need the producer to tell you, or do you even know what key this is? You don't even need an ear.
You don't need
just put Auto Key on the melody track, right? It'll listen and give you the key. You see what I mean? So it's like technology is helping us advance, but it's killing the game at the same time, because like you're saying, people can remake things accurately. Even now, what they could even do is chop from a song. You see what I mean? Yeah, and just chop that snare that they want, or that kick that they want, And then from there, maybe just try to play with it a bit so it doesn't sound so hot, because it's going to be obviously the mastered version, So maybe they'll try to bring it down a bit so it sits with the rest of the raw samples, So it's stuff like that like makes it very, like you're saying, makes it very difficult to compete, It's very difficult to compete now, because
but you'll never
5 years have been squeezed into one website.
Yeah. All that education, all of that effort, everything. But I don't see, there's certain things you can't replicate. You can't replicate the way, say, a Kanye from like a graduation Kanye, the way he chopped up and the way he brought things in the way that was done, versus someone who, I don't know any of these modern day producers, but anyone from, say, the past 12 months, like a Murder Beats. where you can take a murder beats beat and you can almost 100% replicate it, whereas you can't take a track that is
old
that
Kanye or
even further back, even further,
or even
back,
like a Ninth Wonder or
you can't do it. You can't replicate that. So I think
you know what I hate now about the music, né? Nothing is shocking anymore. Like it all sounds the same. Like, have you ever had that thing where you hear a song and you see the project in your head? like, have you had that thing where you hear a song and you see the project in your head? Have you had that thing where you're like, oh, okay, I know how you did the hi-hats, I know how you did the kick, I know how you did your snare. Then you hear it 808, like you're like, oh, I know how you did. I hate that. I want to hear music like you're saying, where I'm like, how? Like, how did you do this? You know what I mean? Because right now, bro, 80% of the songs that I hear, I can probably remake. With the help of a session musician, of course, because on the music side, I can't play every key in the world. But on the drum side, on the arrangement side, I can probably remake it. Yeah. And that's where we're headed, because now everything's going to sound the same. It's the same right click, fill each 2 steps. Kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare, open head, kick, snare. You know what I mean?
Templates now. Have you seen the templates?
You know what I mean?
Literally bring in the sound that you bought, the sound kit you bought from there. Literally put it where it says snare, take it and place it.
Yeah, you put it.
Take the kick, put it, say where it says kick, put it there.
It says kick.
Load up whatever instrument you want to, because the MIDI is already there. And there's your beat.
Now it's like a production line. We're not making music. It's a production line now. It's like, okay, we're welding on the doors, sharp, welding on the wheels, sharp, put the roof on, shoop, put the boot on, sharp, put the windscreen, you know. It's like an assembly line now. It's not even like actual people, you know, expressing themselves anymore. That's why I feel like the mainstream is endangered, bro.
Yeah. Now this is where we capitalize, but this is capitalism. This is where capitalism comes in. Now there's a certain deadline, or there's a certain amount, or you need to compete with a competition. I can't be putting out 2 beats in a month, you know, because so you have to step it up, and you're like, how do I do it? How do I get the shot in my arm? How do I get that, you know, the supplementation?
that's edge, man.
Edge, man. How do I take it? Because it's to get the edge organically is expensive. To have a guy on keys who's on speed dial, to have a drummer on speed dial, to have a studio on speed dial, to set everything up and bring people in and wire things, and you know it's difficult. So I can see people going there as a shortcut. One person that I've seen that I've been a little bit annoyed with is Timberland. He's one of the guys that I would say he's fallen into that thing now. He's amongst us now. He's now he's a mere mortal now. Before we were like,
too much.
What's this thing that's going on? Now we're just like, okay.
But shout out to him for his comeback. Hey, shout out to him and Scott Storch for making like dope comebacks. Scott Storch especially, because he almost saw his life flash.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I mean, it's the game we're playing in now, and it is what it is.
It is what it is. Oh man.
Another dope episode.
Yeah.
Another dope episode. Yeah, but you hit the wrong nerve with the loops. But anyway, I'm glad we actually.
Sorry, man.
No, it's all good. This is, you know, one thing I love about our episodes. Like recently, I've noticed that they're becoming twofold. Like we never hit one topic, which is really dope, because now we hit both sides of it. Because now we said songwriters and then we said loops. So it's like, you know, both sides. Because on the songwriters, we were agreeing, like, songwriters, yeah. But now we're like, loops,
man, those guys,
no ways.
Yeah.
But bro, I should be uploading these. Okay, this thing's almost done. I'm exporting now as well, so I should be uploading these 2. I'll probably drop both of them at the same time, and then do the bonus episode Friday-ish. So Scale Podcast episode 7. We out. Away, bro.